Welcome to the Real Estate Finder podcast. I'm Matthew Maschler, real estate broker with the signature real estate companies here in the state of Florida. And with me, the co-host of the Real Estate Finder podcast, Jill Glanzer. Hi, Jill. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing fantastic. How are you?
I am great. Also in the studio, we have Preston Smith. Hey, Preston. How are you?
I'm doing marvelous. It's a beautiful day today.
All right. And I think we have a new listing coming to the market, right, Preston?
We do, yeah. We have a townhouse coming to market within the next week or a week and a half. It's a beautiful townhouse. It's 3 bedrooms, 3 baths, coming in the next week.
All right. And it's 8122. What's the street name?
8122 Severn A.
8122 Severn A in the heart of Boca Raton, Glades and Boca Rio Road.
Yes.
In the Banyans of Boca Rio community, great community with great schools.
Mm-hmm.
Joe, what are the schools?
Oh, great question. I don't know if it off the top of my head.
But it is Spanish River High School. A lot of people don't realize that it's
right.
That it's Spanish River High School because the middle school doesn't usually feed to Spanish River. I call this community the back door to Spanish River. So if somebody wants to get into Spanish River High School and pay a little bit less than the typical competing units that are zoned for Spanish River High School, it's a great alternative.
Right.
Yeah. So it's a great 3-bedroom, 3-bath, 2-story townhouse, and it's under $400,000.
Right, and that's very hard to find. Also, the HOA is affordable. They have a really nice recreation area with a pool, a fitness center, and they really maintain the community very well. The management is really good there. And it also could make an investment property as well, possibly. You can rent it out once a year, I believe.
No rentals for the first 2 years.
Okay, for the first 2 years, but after that, you can rent it out. And it's shown to be a very good investment area because, again, there's a shortage of rentals in Boca. So a 3-bedroom, 3-bath is great for a family. And there's a nice courtyard in every unit there. And the courtyard is great. You could barbecue there. You could hang out with your friends there in the winter when the weather's really nice. So it offers a lot.
I actually bought this unit as a rental. I don't remember what year, 2015, 16, Jill, do you think?
Yeah, around 2015.
Around 2015, I bought this as a rental. And it's, but back then it was about $175,000. I accumulated several over those years. And once it hit 200K, I stopped. I'm like, all right, I'm not paying higher than 200K. And now they're trading at close to 400K.
Yes.
But as a rental investment, I'm not 100% sure. The fees are kind of high. The HOA fees have crept up. They're about $400 a month. Taxes and the insurance has kept up. For me, my numbers don't work at $400,000, which is why I am choosing to part ways with it. But yes, if you are looking for something that's easy to maintain and easy to rent out, it is definitely worth considering, especially if you do, again, like I said, want to get into Spanish River High School or want to be right in central Boca Raton, Boca Rio Road between Glades and Palmetto. So it's a great area. I don't know if there's any kind of Chabad presence.
That's a great question. I think it might be a little far to walk to the Chabad.
Well, unless there's something we don't know about.
Right, there could be. There always is something brewing in the Chabad world.
There's always something we don't know about. So, if anybody has any questions or wants to see it, please reach out to Preston. He's been working with our summer intern on this project and should be listed any day now.
Yes, and the schools, just to go back, I did find out the schools. It's Hammock Point Elementary, which is walking distance.
That's what it's called, yeah.
It's walking distance. Literally, your child, or you could walk them right to the gate of where Hammock Point is, and then Omni Middle, which is a great middle school.
Yeah. Right. And most of Hammock Point doesn't feed into Omni Spanish River.
Right.
So that's why I call it the back door.
Yeah, no, it's a really good option.
Absolutely. And Preston, what's the seller like? What's it like to work with this particular seller?
I mean, it's one of the best sellers that I've had to deal with. It's easy breezy. They just want to sell it. So
do they listen to your advice?
To my advice, It depends on what it is. Some of my advice is good, but sometimes not so good. But we have different ideas.
Do you
It's
ever
just nature how things work.
do you ever encounter issues where you have like maybe a sophisticated seller who's very opinionated and maybe tries to take advantage of you because of your youthful energy?
So I mean, I definitely feel like I've dealt with that in the past. Of course, where sellers or buyers can just be very aggressive and assertive and just like leaning on the direction of conflict. And it's like this, XYZ isn't an issue. Like we just want to resolve it. And people make a mountain out of a molehill. So it's just every customer is so different. Every transaction is so different. Um,
I
but I
think
don't know, people are people. You never know what to expect.
I think people lost the ability to uh, value expertise
Mhm.
um, when the internet was launched. It used to be that you would go to an expert, you'd value them for their opinion. But when information became free, right, the internet
Mhm.
puts all this information online. When information became free, then expertise is not valued
Yeah.
anymore. It's more about the experience.
Mhm.
It's experience over expertise. But I am pretty old school, and I come from a place where I can offer my expertise. And I find quite often I have customers who are not interested in taking advantage of my expertise and my experience and my knowledge. Uh,
Yeah.
they want things done their way. And yeah, sure, that is fine, right? As Burger King says, have it your way. Um, but, you know, you're the one that has to live with those consequences. So,
Yeah.
a president, someone who's a little bit younger than me, that's what you have to remember. We no longer live in a world where people value experience and knowledge. They expertise and knowledge. They
Mhm.
value the experience, so they want the showing process to be polished and well thought out. They want the presentation of their listing to be first class. But again, they don't treat a real estate agent as a valued trusted partner. Jill, have you
Mhm.
experienced anything recently where uh, the seller maybe didn't value the relationship with the real estate agent and caused you any trouble?
So yeah, I mean, I try to communicate a lot with my sellers when I list a property, whether good or bad. I mean, if they want to list it at a certain price, I usually tell them like, this is what I recommend. We can try it at yours if you insist. And that's after presenting a lot of facts and comps. We can try it. And then usually once a week, I like to talk to them on the phone. And once a week, I like to email them and give them updates. And I had one particular seller of a property where basically it was in a trust and he was handling it for his brother, and his brother was in a nursing home, but his brother would sign.
One second. He was handling it for his brother. So
Right.
let's just define who he and it is.
Okay, so his brother was very sick and had to go to a nursing home.
Whose brother?
The survivor trustee.
All right. So let's be clear about something.
He's not really able to sign any documents. He has to make decisions with his brother.
Okay. So all right. So I'm a little confused. So let's clear things up a little bit.
Sure.
There are people,
Mm-hmm.
and people can own real estate,
Yes.
and there are entities, and entities can own real estate.
Right.
So when I say entities, I'm talking about a corporation, an LLC, a trust.
Okay.
All right.
It
So
was a
you have
trust.
to figure out who the owner of the property is.
It's the
Now
trust.
the thing about entities are not people. So you can't say he when you refer to the owner of the property because the owner of the property is not a he. The
Right.
owner of the property is a trust. So it's a little bit more confusing than a corporation. If it was a corporation, I think it would be obvious. But a lot of times there's a trust. A couple for tax reasons put the property that they own into a trust. So usually for estate tax reasons, that way it passes to their heirs without going through probate. So let's say my house, Matthew and Wendy Maschler, instead of owning it as Matthew and Wendy Maschler, maybe I own it as the Matthew and Wendy Maschler Trust. And in those cases, it's pretty clear who the owners are. The owners are Matthew and Wendy Maschler. The trustees are Matthew and Wendy Maschler. It's just that the beneficiaries are someone else. So let's talk about what those roles are. The trustee of the trust is like the president of a company or the manager of an LLC. The trustee is the person who controls the trust. The beneficiary, think of them as the owner, but they don't own it now. They own it at some date in the future. The trustee is holding the property in trust for those beneficiaries at a later date. So when we talk about property in a trust, when we talk about and there could be another person in a trust involved, because if the trust just had money in it, it would be simple. But if the trust has a real estate in it, then you have to talk about there's a person that lives in the real estate, in the real estate, right? So let's say the trust owns a piece of property. The trust rents the property to a tenant. The tenant pays rent to the trust. And ultimately, at some point in the future, the beneficiaries will gain possession of the assets in the trust. The beneficiaries don't get the trust. They get the assets that are in the trust at some point in the future, usually a death. So in your case, where the seller is a trust, you're dealing with the trustee. The trustee is the person who can sign on behalf of the trust and makes decisions on behalf of the trust. So you're selling a property that's in trust. The trust owns the property.
Right.
The person that you're talking to that signed the listing agreement
Is the trustee.
is the trustee.
Correct.
Okay.
Well, no, the person that I'm talking to, okay, the person that signed the listing agreement is the trustee.
Mhm.
The person that I'm talking to is the beneficiary.
Okay.
Because I never talked to the trustee per se.
So
Beneficiary talked to the trustee. They agreed that they would list with us, and the trustee had to sign all the documents.
Right. Because the beneficiary has absolutely no right whatsoever to the trust, to what's in the trust, to control the trust, to make decisions about the trust.
Right.
The beneficiary has no rights. Like you talk about like a trust fund kid, right? So
Right.
this guy puts money in a trust for their child, and that's the trust fund baby. The trust fund baby cannot access the trust. The trustee can make a distribution to the beneficiary, but in my opinion, you should not be talking to a beneficiary of a trust. You should only be
Right.
talking to the trustee of a trust. The beneficiary of the trust is irrelevant.
So what happens so let me ask you this,
Mhm.
in best case scenario,
Yeah.
if that beneficiary who contacted me and said, hey, my brother's sick, I'm going to have to move him he's the trustee. I'm going to have to move him into, I should have been like, hey, can I go talk to your brother?
All right. So now we have a situation. All right.
Yeah.
Great. Now we have a specific situation because I actually don't know the situation.
Okay.
You have a situation where there is a trust that owns a piece of property, and there's a person that lives in the property. That person was probably the person who set the trust up.
Yes.
Person-
Well, yeah, I think so.
Probably. I don't know because I'm just hearing it now.
Well, no, it actually, his parents set it up and they passed away.
Okay.
So then he became the trustee.
Well, wait. So the person who sets up the trust is called the settler. All right.
Okay.
So whoever set that trust up, whether it was the occupant of the property or the parents of the occupant of the property, so the person that's living in the property when you got the property, was there anyone living there?
Yes.
Okay.
The trustee.
The trustee was living in the property.
Correct.
Great. So someone set up the trust on behalf of this person that's living in the property and made that person the trustee.
Mm-hmm.
The trustee can make whatever decisions they want.
Right.
Who contacted you? The trustee, the trustee's brother, or the beneficiary?
Trustee's brother.
Trustee's brother contacted you and said, "Hi, my name is TB.
Mm-hmm.
Trustee's brother, TB. We'd like to list this property. My brother's living there, but he's very, very sick and he's going to go to assisted living or whatever."
Mm-hmm.
The trustee's brother contacted you as a helper. He has no role. It's like when the owner of a property's daughter or brother calls you, right?
Right.
They don't have a role, but they're helper.
Right.
So the trustee's brother contacts you and says, "We want to list the property." You list the property. The trustee signs it, and now the property is listed for 3 months. You did a great job. You found a buyer. You got an offer. You said to the trustee's brother, "Hey, great news! We got an offer. We negotiated the offer back and forth. We're ready to sign it. Have your brother
Right.
sign it. Have your
Right.
brother sign the offer, and we're under contract."
Right.
That's what happened.
No, I presented the offer, and then he told me my
He,
brother. Okay,
trustee's brother.
the TB
Yeah.
trustee's brother said to me, "Oh, my brother died a month and a half ago, actually."
So I think my fact pattern was still correct.
Hmm.
You negotiated the offer. You're ready to sign it. You
Right.
send it to trustee's brother. Hey, great news! Have your brother sign this. He's the trustee of the trust. Have him sign it, and we'll get you closed.
Right.
And he said, my brother can't sign it. He passed away a month and a half ago.
Right.
So there is an important fact you need to tell your real estate agent.
Right.
During the term of the listing, if the owner of the property passes away, I don't mean to smile or laugh, but
Yeah.
if the owner of the property passes away during the term of the listing agreement, you would tell the listing agent so that way we could update our paperwork.
Correct.
So we're trying to get this property under contract, and we're scrambling because we have to figure out who the new trustee is.
Right.
And if it was a month and a half ago when it happened, we could have figured it out in regular time and not embarrassed ourselves in front of this buyer and saying to the buyer, "Sorry, we don't know who has the power to sign the trust."
Hmm.
So we call the trust estate lawyers. They figure it out for us. They figure out who the new trustee is, and the new trustee signs the offer, and we are now under contract.
Nope, because there's an issue.
Uh,
The new trustee,
uh-huh.
which happens to be the trustee's brother,
The trustee's brother, the original person.
doesn't want to be the trustee. He wants to give up his rights to be the trustee and make his son the trustee.
Yeah.
And in order to do that, there's
So-
some paperwork that needs to be signed. He does not want to sign it, even though he has the right to.
Right. So under the trust, the trustee's brother was the successor trustee.
Correct. Successor trustee.
And
Correct.
he doesn't want to do it. He doesn't. And do you know why he doesn't want to do it?
Because he just doesn't, he doesn't want to handle it at all. He doesn't want to deal with any of it. He doesn't want to have to sign documents or make decisions.
But he is the person signing and making decisions. So,
I know.
yeah.
I know. That's what's weird. And
Yeah.
now he just he has too much going on in his life, and he wants to give it to his son and let his son deal with it and make the money.
Yeah. Because the son was the ultimate beneficiary.
I don't think he was.
Yeah.
I don't think the son was. I think it was only him, but he wants to only TB.
Oh,
only trustee's brother.
The trustee's brother was the beneficiary.
Correct.
Yeah. See, I because I don't know the people and I don't know the parties. I think maybe the trustee's brother might be a little confused.
Yeah, maybe.
I think he doesn't want to be the beneficiary.
Maybe that's it. But apparently he told his lawyer, who I called because I am very thorough, as Matt knows. I called the lawyer that they're using because he had made a statement. He can sign. The trustee's brother can sign. But I don't want, here's what I don't want happening. And maybe I overthink things. We can talk about this. I didn't want somebody signing it that wasn't legally able to sign. So I called the lawyer.
Okay, so what Jill's talking about is what would you do, right? Devil on one shoulder, angel on the other. There's an argument that you just have the trustee's brother sign it as the seller, and that way
he says he is. So I should just trust him that he's the trustee now.
And by the way, this is what I would have done. I would have had the guy sign it, even though he has absolutely no legal authority to sign it.
Right.
I'd have had the guy sign it. I'd have had the buyer sign it. The buyer would have done their inspections. We would have sent it to the title company, who's gone. And I made a mistake because there's no title company. There's no such thing as a title company in contract. There's an escrow agent and a closing agent. We would have sent it all to the closing agent, who's usually the title company. And then at some point, the closing agent, at some point during the line, would do a title search, would look at the trust, would compare it, and it could be right at the beginning, or it could be right at the end. Like it could be like the day of the closing or 3 days before the closing. You never know. And at some point, the lawyers and the closing agent would realize, oh my God, the person who signed it didn't have the power or authority to sign it. Someone else would need to sign it. And at that point, we would do an addendum. Both parties would sign the addendum, and we would move on. So that's what I would do. But that would not be correct. Jill was correct and thorough, made sure that the I's were dotted, the T's were crossed, and the appropriate person who had authority to sign on behalf of the seller signed the document.
But it's been going on now for a week and a half because they had to sign documents to make sure that the son of the trustee,
the new trustee,
son of the trustee's brother, the new trustee.
No, they needed to sign documents
But
to make sure that the new trustee was assigned and accepted the responsibilities.
Right. But going off of your point, Matt, I did think about it, and you were right in a way, and I'll tell you why. Just to second guess myself. Is that for a moment, trustee's brother was able to sign, but
but I didn't know that.
Decided to give up.
Yeah,
he's giving that responsibility up,
right,
to another trustee,
right,
another person. He's making someone else the trustee. So for that moment, he probably could have signed.
If he was named as the successor trustee in the trust, then he automatically became the trustee when the original trustee passed away, and absolutely had the right to sign.
Right. So really, I could have just had him sign and not overthought it.
Right. But the reason,
right.
So I said, yeah, but don't second guess that. The reason, so I said what I did. You did it your way, and what would the problem be?
So the problem could be that the buyer didn't want to wait. In this particular instance,
if you did it my way.
No, they wouldn't have had to wait, and things would have been good because they would have gone through their process and been committed, right? They would have done their inspection, had it with their title company because they chose to choose the title company because that's a Miami thing.
By doing it your way,
right?
Like when I present offers, I like offers to get accepted, right? That's my goal when I submit an offer, to get the offer accepted, right?
Right.
By doing it your way, you delayed the offer and acceptance
definitely
by a week and a half.
Yeah, and which could be bad.
Which could be bad. Could frustrate a buyer.
Right.
Make a buyer walk.
Right.
Is it still listed active in the MLS?
It is, but that's interesting that you ask because I've been texting the buyer's agent for a week and a half, updating her on what's going on so that she would stay engaged, right? And the buyer is still engaged, but she now wants me to take it off the market. That's a whole other subject now.
Because the whole time you could accept other higher offers the whole time. The buyer could walk the whole time. So you're putting risk at the beginning. My way puts the risk at the end.
Right.
Let's say the buyer wanted to cancel, change their mind during the course of the contract and found out this thing and found out that they did have an out. Or when they are ultimately presented with this addendum to the contract to change the seller, a light bulb could go off in the buyer's head that says, oh my God, this wasn't the right seller. Maybe he didn't have the authority to sign. I could get out of this contract.
Right.
I'd rather take that risk later than earlier. I'd want to, I want to get that contract signed, right? Because when I'm fishing, right, I'll say anything to get that fish to bite. I'll put really nice lure, really nice bait, get that fish to bite, reel the fishing rod. Oh, come on, baby, get in there, come to Papa, right? Once they get in my boat, I'll clobber him with the baseball bat. But while I'm trying to get him into the boat, I'm using all of my skills. And so I'd rather get that buyer signed under contract, inspections done, move it forward, and then deal with a bump in the road later. I don't think it's right or wrong, my approach, your approach.
They're just different.
They're different. If I was the buyer, I'd be worried every single day. I'd move on, maybe find something else. Because if this buyer needs to live somewhere, they may get frustrated with this process. Preston, just like on the rentals, right? At some point, it drags on so long that you just have to change your mind and do something else. If I was this buyer, I'd be pissed at this point. I'd be concerned. What
Right.
is going on? So you're doing a good job of keeping the listing agent, the buyer's agent informed. At some point, that buyer might get spooked.
Because if this process had to happen later and
Mhm.
it delayed the closing a week and a half, that could also be a problem. So you could look at it both ways, really.
No, the lawyers would have, because what would have happened is
You wouldn't
the
believe how slow these people are,
yeah, but
lawyers.
with a gun to their head, they'll move a lot quicker.
They, like, reassign okay, this is a whole other thing, and
No,
I'm
no,
not
so
trying to be
if they're
negative.
under if they're under contract and there's a buyer at their
Right,
heels and there's a title company and there's
right.
no commitments,
Might be
those
different.
those lawyers are working overtime.
Right.
They're
So
dragging ass right now because they don't give a fuck.
so as a real estate agent, there is a lot of responsibility on you. Maybe I take that responsibility too far sometimes because I don't wanna do the wrong thing.
Right.
Because if I just let that guy sign, even though he was the right person at that moment, and then it changes, that's okay. It could also be bad because like, for example, if you're a new agent and you don't know all this stuff, you haven't been doing it 20 years, right? Somebody passes away, somebody says, I am this trustee now. And you just believe it. You don't verify it with anybody and you just get somebody to sign. And now you're going through a whole transaction. It could be bad.
I'll get
It could
anyone to
also be
sign
good.
and let the lawyers, the closing agents deal with it later.
Right, right,
But the important thing, the takeaway though, is the important thing to remember is that this customer, this seller should have told us.
right.
And this important change, the trustee,
And right,
the guy that signed our listing agreement, passed away. There needs to be a new trustee, and he didn't
right.
need to tell us. Um,
And on top of it, it wasn't like I was an absentee agent just listed on the MLS and ignored him and waited for it to sell.
your
I was
community,
calling him.
yep,
He wasn't answering my calls. I was texting him and emailing him updates every week. So there
absolutely,
was plenty of opportunity to respond to that and just
absolutely,
say to me, "Hey, he passed away. Let's work on this."
right. All right. So I think we gotta get back to work. We gotta get 8122 listed. We gotta get we have a great property in Woodfield Country Club coming up. It's gonna have
Mhm.
a golf membership. So we're going to get back to work. Thank you for joining us on the Real Estate Finder podcast. If you have any questions, please feel free to email us, sales@realestatefinder.com. Check out the website, realestatefinder.com. Make sure that you subscribe and like this podcast wherever you are listening to podcasts. And I believe we are now doing full episodes on YouTube. That is a new distribution channel for the podcast. Full episodes of the podcast available on the Real Estate Finder YouTube channel. Thank you so much and see you soon.
The future looks bright and the storms pass by. The sky's dark blue and it's almost that time. Light shows, cameras flash when I pass. Living in the moment, forget about the past. They save the best for last. Matthew Mania, we bout to make a splash. Life is a marathon full of sharp turns. Gotta keep pace while the hands on the clock turns. High stakes, 5-star real estate. I run a show, you can tell the boss in the place. Electricity, energy, it vibrates. I'm always on time even if I'm late. I make dreams come true. Living my life, hope the same for you. Success in my sights, got a real clear view. If you don't know the time, I'll give you a clue. You know what time, you know what time, you know what time it is. Yeah. You know what time, you know what time, you know what time it is. You know what time, you know what time, you know what time it is. You know what time, you know what time, you know what time it is. You know what time it is. You know whose time it is. You know what time it is. Matthew Mania, the time it says. You know what time it is. You know whose time it is. You know what time it is. Matthew Mania, the time it says. Yeah, got him shook, scared, can't